In 2010, the Byron Nelson served as a springboard for today's best players. A relatively unknown 22-year-old Australian stole the show when Jason Day won the first PGA Tour title of his career. That same year, Jordan Spieth, only 16 years old at the time, made a statement in his PGA Tour debut, finishing tied for 16th. It's still his best ever showing in the tournament. This year marks the 63rd playing of the AT&T Byron Nelson. Mr. Nelson, who had 52 PGA Tour wins in his career, was the tournament's first champion in 1944. A full preview of the 2016 edition right now on Golf Central.
Golf Central. Brought to you by Titleist.
Lisa Cornwell, Brian Bateman, kicking off Golf Central tonight with a little bit of fun. Jordan Spieth, not only a major champion, but a trick shot artist to boot.
I have never seen that before. Look, he fell down again, but he's got it in his mouth, so I guess he's a winner.
I don't think you could do that at 32.
No.
Maybe at 22.
They'd have to help me up.
That was a marshmallow, if you haven't heard. That happened during a clinic Spieth was giving to a large group of kids ahead of the Byron Nelson. Today it was all business for the reigning PGA Tour Player of the Year. For more on Spieth's final preparations, we take you live to Irving, Texas, where Scott Walker is standing by. Scott, what is Spieth's frame of mind right now?
Well, the frame of mind is certainly not going after marshmallows here. This was about business, getting to the work of having a high finish in this golf tournament, the AT&T Byron Nelson, which is so important to him. And the plan here was to get to business, serious business, with his 2:10 local time tee time, as he tried to figure out how his game really matched up with a golf course where he has yet to have a top 10 in 5 previous appearances. Now, Lisa, of course, we all are different. We act and behave a little bit differently than we did in 16, thankfully. So Jordan Spieth said he was always very aggressive when he played here as a 16-year-old. He is less so now, not firing at flags and things like that when he did in 2010. So he hasn't always brought the same sort of mindset or also his complete game in previous attempts at this tournament.
It just hadn't been my week. I was on my A game for all 4 rounds in 2010 and 3 out of the 4 in 2011. I just haven't had my A game this week since then. Do I know why? Not necessarily. One time I think I wasn't driving it well. The next I just didn't make anything. I'm looking for it all to click. I would really like to win this tournament. I don't think maybe the first year or two as a professional, I got a little kind of too much pressure on myself to perform, but I wouldn't say that was the case last year, and it won't be the case this year. I've been in positions now where I've felt a lot more pressure than I could put on myself this week. So it's just about getting into the right rhythm, hitting it in the right spots, and I've tried to do too much on this course. I've tried to push the ball too far instead of letting the putts come to you.
So Spieth hopes to add his name to the list of winners that includes the 2011 champion Keegan Bradley. Keegan Bradley has only made 7 cuts in 15 starts here on the PGA Tour, and of course he is outside the top 100. So he told me earlier this week that he's happy to come back to the place where he had his first victory. Now, of course, he's on his 3rd caddy in 3 starts. He fired his longtime caddy Steve Hale, known as Pepsi, a couple of weeks ago. Last week at the Players, his normal caddy Chad Reynolds was there, but not this week due to a planned graduation. So Paul Tesori is on the bag for Bradley this week. Tesori is off because his player, Webb Simpson, is at home with a baby. So, of course, Keegan Bradley is hoping that a new voice on his team will help invigorate his game.
I just needed a change personally. Pepsi's unbelievable caddy. Always was so helpful to me, but I felt as though we needed to mix it up a little bit. It's different. You kind of have to work out stuff that you were used to before. The new caddy may not know, so it's kind of a learning period to figure out what each other does on the course. I'm very excited with where I'm at right now. I can really feel it coming around, and I feel that any week it could go off. So every week I tee it up, I have a lot of excitement hoping for it to go.
And you could feel the excitement for Keegan Bradley, despite the fact he has just 1 top 10 thus far this year. Bradley will start early on Thursday, 7:50 local time, tee time. There is bad weather in the forecast, however, and 1 to 2 inches that could come with a front is scheduled to hit here on Thursday. So Lisa, we'll cross our fingers and see how much golf we're able to get here in tomorrow for the first round. Lisa?
Thanks, Scott. At least he has the rain jacket, so that's always a good thing. All right, Brian, you've been through this because you've been out on tour, and we heard from Keegan, and he said, look, he just needed to make some changes. A lot of people may wonder, he got all 3 victories on the PGA Tour with Pepsi, including a major championship. Yeah. So why change, right?
Well, you know, as a PGA Tour player, and we've all been there, you have times where you struggle. And when you struggle, you need a different person to look at. You need a different voice to bounce ideas off of. And you need someone to yell at if things don't go right. So, you know, sometimes a change needs to happen. And in Keegan's case, you know, a lot of times people think that the player is the only one that needs to make the change. You know, sometimes it's good for the caddy as well. Things just get old. And I know it's kind of cliche, but it's going to take some time because you have to get to know your caddy and the caddy has to get to know you. But no surprise there. He's been with Pepsi for almost 5 years. And that's, I was telling you earlier, I think that's probably above average for players and caddies relationships. You have your Phil Mickelson and Bones, Lucas Glover and his caddy, Coop. They've been together over 10 years, but there's, you know, 5 years is a long time to last with a player and a caddy because you're going to have ups and downs, and when you have your downs, the caddy's usually the first person to go.
Well, certainly, and it's a lot of time together, too, so sometimes you just need to be reinvigorated, and that's certainly what Keegan said there.
You spend more time with your caddy than you do with your wife and your family on the road. So, yeah, it's a very symbiotic relationship, but you have to be able to make changes. It's not easy. We've all had to do it, but sometimes it works for the best.
Symbiotic, bring in the big words. I like it. Here's a closer look at how TPC Four Seasons will play from the Golf Course Superintendents Association of America. The rough is measured at just over 2 inches deep, while the greens are rolling as fast as 11 on the stimp meter. This week on Golf Channel, the PGA Tour Champions is staging its very first major of the season. You can catch that one at 1 Eastern. Opening round coverage of the Nelson begins at 3:30. The LPGA's Kingsmill Championship is on at 9. And up first, Rory McIlroy plays tournament host and fan favorite in the Irish Open. For more on what's happening in Ireland, we say hello to George Savaricas.
Well, Lisa, a busy week on and off the course for world number 3, Rory McIlroy. McIlroy, for the 2nd straight year, serving as the de facto tournament host of the Dubai Duty-Free Irish Open with the Rory Foundation heavily involved. Last night, he had a gala in Dublin with Sir Alex Ferguson. Before that, he was able to sneak out to the K Club and play 9 holes here for the first time since playing 18 at this venue when he first turned pro as an 18-year-old. Today, McIlroy playing a practice round as he prepares for this week's event, and he shared what it means to him.
You know, I think everyone that's a professional golfer dreams of winning their home open, whether it's the US Open for the American guys or the Irish Open for me, or you know, whatever, the Spanish Open for Sergio, or whatever it is. It's a big deal, and my performances in this event in the past have not been so good, and I want to change that, and I want to change that this week with a good performance, and first and foremost getting into the weekend that I haven't been able to do the last 3 years, but then obviously going on from that, trying to compete for the tournament and win. You know, there'd be no better feeling than winning in front of my home fans this week.
And you could say there's a bit of a Ryder Cup feel this week at the K Club. Remember, it was 10 years ago, Team Europe dismantling the Americans in 2006. Rory McIlroy said he was actually here as a fan to see Sunday singles play as a teenager. He's been a stalwart on the past 3 victorious European teams, along with Graham McDowell and Martin Keimer. Remember, GMAC had the winning putt in 2010, Keimer back in 2012. Both those guys have an eye towards playing their way on the 2016 team at Hazeltine.
I feel like I'm ticking over and getting ready to really, you know, hopefully have a strong summer. I feel like I took a lot of confidence away from the players last week with a nice strong finish there. We had a little Ryder Cup get together on the Tuesday night with Darren, and I feel like, you know, just visualizing and kind of extrapolating forward to later in the year and seeing myself on the team at Hazeltine was inspiring for me and gave me some confidence and gave me something really to play for. You know, that's one of my big goals, is to be on the team, and I feel very motivated and ready to go. A lot of golf to play the next few months.
Funny enough, the golf doesn't really feel different right now than it felt 2 years ago in terms of the attitude. It's very positive. There was no holding back. And sometimes, if we want it or not, you do sometimes hold back a little bit for whatever reason. That's why I'm looking forward to the summer, and hopefully the work pays off and the good results will come.
And right now, if you looked at the European standings, Graham McDowell, Martin Keimer would be on the outside looking in as far as playing for Team Europe. Rory McIlroy would clearly be a lock to be at Hazeltine. And it's pretty amazing to think, worldwide so far in this year, 2016, those three guys have combined for 0 victories, but with 3 of the 4 majors still upcoming, McDowell and Keimer still have ample opportunity to try and play their way back on Team Europe. Let's send it back to the studio.
Thank you, George. Coming up next, from daily to MB and beyond, we take you around the tours to preview a busy week across the globe. Plus, find out which teams played their way into the NCAA Men's Golf Championships. The shot of the regionals has to go to Wofford Jr. Andrew Novak playing the 18th hole in the Tuscaloosa Regional. Novak drained a 100-foot putt during the second round. We'll have much more ahead on Golf Central.
Golf Central is brought to you by the Titleist Pro V1 and Pro V1X. Make a difference in your game.